All right, 9:15 this Sunday morning, and we're getting brand new updates all the time about where Dorian's at right now. We're looking at a Category 5 hurricane going into the Bahamas.
5.
How sad is that?
And that was a question that we got yesterday at the hurricane seminar that we had at IMAG. It was a strong Category 4 at that point in time. Is it possible that it would have strengthened into a Category 5? And the answer was yes, but the odds were looking a little bit lower at that point in time, and yeah, now here we are. So unfortunately, not a good situation heading into the northwestern Bahamas. We will continue to monitor any potential wiggles and wobbles in Dorian and how that could impact our weather, but until we get to that, here's Dorian, the beast of the hour, and again, Category 5, winds up to 160 miles an hour. Not a good situation for the Bahamas, and really an ominous situation for those of us here in Florida, especially East Coast Floridians, because you see a hurricane of this size, of this strength, moving off to the west, we get concerned. But Dorian is still expected to take that northerly turn and likely just skirt along the East Coast. I showed you some of the advisories. There are tropical storm watches and warnings in place up and down the East Coast, but we do have to be considered about some, or at least be concerned, I should say, about some stronger winds as well. So I've showed this quite a few times over the weekend, but I do think it tells a pretty good story. So I have two circles here. The inner one I know is hard to see because of the satellite imagery, but the inner circle, that's how far out the hurricane force winds extend. Still only about 30 miles from the center, and those are winds that are up to that 160 mile per hour range, all the way down to 74. That's the low end of hurricane force winds. But the outer ring here, stretching out 105 miles from the center, from the eye, those are the tropical storm force winds. To show this to you in a different way, we have one of our in-house models, and it shows the wind field of Hurricane Dorian. Everything you see in yellow, that's the tropical storm force winds, and the orange, and at times you will see a darker orange, a red color there as well. Those are the hurricane force winds. Now, one thing I want to bring to your attention before we zoom in a little bit closer to our state here at home is just look at how slowly it's expected to move once it gets into the Bahamas, and that really is a bad situation when you have those strong hurricane force winds, even when they're on the low end of the spectrum at 74 to 75, then you factor in 150 to 160, not a good situation. And those strong winds are likely going to be just offshore of the East Coast. But what I want to bring to your attention, this is Tuesday afternoon as Dorian is making its northerly approach toward, or really just riding up along the East Coast of Florida. Look at that yellow color coding, the tropical storm force winds expected to be as close as the east side of Lake Okeechobee. If we get even just a slight deviation in Dorian, just a slight movement to the west, those tropical storm force winds will be closer to areas in southwest Florida like Buckhead Ridge, Moorhaven, Clewiston, even Palmdale and LaBelle could start to get some of those stronger winds. So what does that look like a little bit closer to home? Well, we know that we're still not expecting those tropical storm force winds just yet, but as we go throughout really the next few days, we will notice an increase in our winds. Most of us today will be around 10 to 15, not too bad of a day. We can handle that. But as Dorian continues to move off to the north, especially near Lake Okeechobee by tomorrow afternoon, winds could be anywhere from 20 up to 30 miles an hour. Again, not tropical storm strength, but if we start to see that westward progression, these winds really could start to increase. And check out Tuesday when Dorian continues to move away from us. That's when we're likely going to have our breeziest conditions, and another reason why we continue to watch Dorian so closely, even though we are out of the cone of concern. So don't go eating all your hurricane snacks just yet. We want you to stay aware as we go throughout the next few days as Dorian continues to move off to the north. But outside right now, wouldn't know there's a tropical system moving around, mixture of sunshine and clouds, not too bad of a day, but we are tracking a few areas of rain already moving from the east to the west. They are starting to dissipate right now, but we will continue to monitor more of those as they track our way from the east to the west later on this afternoon, especially hugging along the coastline during the evening hours. So if you're trying to get some beach time in today, keep that in mind. As we go throughout Monday, we'll start to notice those outer rain bands of Dorian start to make their way a little bit closer to us. So we are going to have those areas of rain that we'll have to track by Monday and into Monday evening. But even though they are outer rain bands of a a powerful hurricane, we aren't expecting much more than what we would typically experience than a normal Southwest Florida summer day. So keep that in mind. We will continue to monitor Dorian and give you any new updates. But as it moves away from us, our weekend not looking too bad. Sunny in the morning and stormy to end. That's your NBC2 First Alert forecast.